So even though not many Americans would know this, since Latin America barely makes it into the news, even though it's in our own backyard, the political system that we have in place today is exactly the same one implemented by the Marxists in the region, by democratically electing presidents such as Chavez in Venezuela, Lula in Brazil, Morales in Bolivia, Correa in Ecuador, Kirchner in Argentina, Lugo in Paraguay, and Ortega in Nicaragua. And now in Honduras, we're seeing yet an example of how a Marxist got himself democratically elected and then attempted to stay in power by illegally changing the constitution of his country through undemocratic means. But worse than this is the fact that our own president is in alignment with such distinguished characters such as Chavez, Castro, and Ortega, all die-hard communists who are supporting another well-known communist, Manuel Zelaya, the ex-president of Honduras. Could it be that Obama's true colors have finally come through? The Marxist ideology justifies using this kind of tactic where the end justifies the means. So in essence, my friends, by not coming together and speaking up against a system that does not work, it's been proven around the world not to work, we are creating our own banana republic out of our beloved country. What we are seeing in America is a clonage of what has happened in Latin America, where the leaders mentioned previously have been elected by using the same strategy and tactics that progressives in this country have now successfully used. And examples of that are infiltration of the education system, class warfare ideology, voter fraud, brainwashing through mass communications, and promises to the lower economic class that will never be implemented due to the real and hidden agenda of these politicians. How will we combat Marxism without leaders emerging in times like these? We simply won't. If you pay attention to what has become of Latin America, with the exception of Chile and Colombia, you will quickly realize that the first point in the Marxist agenda is to destroy any real conservative leadership. All we have to do is take a look at what has been done to Sarah Palin during the election cycle and now post the elections. But do not be mistaken, they will not stop with her. The people of these countries are now fighting to remove these corrupt leaders from the power they achieved in what at the time seemed to be a democratic way. However, in many instances, it is simply too late. They have taken over the legislative and judiciary powers of those countries through a combination of corruption and ideology. At the end of the day, people just like you and I are paying the price for change. We are paying the price for believing in silver-tongued politicians who speak of hope and change. There has been change in Latin America, folks, just not the change that the people were waiting for. To make matters even worse, whatever freedom is left in Latin America has now become endangered by the current American administration foreign policies, starting with Colombia, our only ally in the region. And they're right next door. They're not too far off. So, President Obama will soon throw the Colombians onto the hands of none other than Hugo Chavez. He's already done it to Israel, he's done it to Poland, he's done it to the Czech Republic. Colombia is next on the list. On the other hand, enemies of our country rejoice. We are already noticing the beginnings of a strong relationship between this administration and the undemocratic forces in power throughout Latin America. You know we are in deep trouble when Hugo Chavez has come out and announced that Obama is further to the left than himself and Fidel Castro. And Fidel Castro came out this week. He came out of retirement just to let us know that he believes President Obama is just such a great man, the best president we've ever seen. So that should tell us something. Cuban Americans, just like my in-laws, came to America looking for the American dream. Now as they watch the current administration implement change, I'm sure that they see their hard-earned American dream crumbling right before their eyes. Even though the same Marxist ideology has already infiltrated our country so deeply, we must remind ourselves as Americans that we should not accept defeat. And this is why we're here today. And this is why we have to continue these movements. This is just the beginning for us. We have to unite and we have to act. We must not just talk the talk. We have to walk the walk in order to be successful. We need to engage and educate people about the Constitution of our country and the proper role of government. We need to discuss the issues at hand and act upon them. This is not a call to arms. This is a call to education. My fellow conservatives, we can no longer passively stand by while sipping our lattes and being consumed by our daily lives because the situation in our nation has reached an unthinkable stage. We must react to the minority that is stealing our country from us and take back control of the future of our children. Let's reverse this. Thank you. Let's reverse this potentially horrible situation by bringing all conservatives, aside from their political affiliations, together to enforce our grassroots conservative moral and principles by electing the real leadership we so desperately need in our country today. We cannot and we should not allow the progressives to take over our country and change our way of life as they have been doing for decades now. This is not happening just under the Obama administration. This has been happening for about 60 years in this country, and we're just now waking up. So we have a lot of work to do. They're way ahead of us. The opposition is way ahead of us, but I'm confident that we can do it. The problem we're facing today is not whether we have elected a Republican or a Democrat. Electing Obama is the issue at hand because, quite frankly, he does not represent the principles our country was built on by our founding fathers. It is a shame indeed that we are all facing the change that he has brought to us with his election. But that's life. We learn by making mistakes. At least I will sleep well at night knowing that I'm doing everything in my power to fight the current administration's ideology from taking over our country. I already left my homeland once because of the same things that you're seeing in your country today. I refuse to let America go down the slippery road without putting up a real fight. So to make a long story short, because I could go on and tell you everything that I've seen down south, I have hope that we, the true conservatives, have what it takes to convince the rest of the population during the next year that we need to take control again in the next election cycle. And I mean 2010, not 2012. So that we can let the people and not the government once again run our nation. Remember, the government works for us. We do not work for the government. We are paying their bills. So, and without freedom, we don't have life. I know that firsthand. I see it in my family, and I've seen it in my husband's family since they left Cuba. Buckle up tight, folks. We're in for victory in a turbulent ride. God bless you, and God bless America. And thank you so much for having me today. It's been a pleasure.